In Angola's capital, collecting water is a daily chore. A staggering 91% of Luanda's 5 million population don't have access to this most basic of commodities.
We don't have water over there. We come here to get water.
Yet Angola is the third richest country in Africa and the continent's second biggest oil producer. It exports almost 2 million barrels of oil a day and is predicted to overtake Nigeria as Africa's largest producer.
Despite the fact that GDP per capita is somewhere between $4,000 and $5,000 per head in Angola, it doesn't really paint the true picture of the country. There is an enormous gap between the country's rich and the country's poor. The Gini coefficient is amongst the highest in the world, and the legacy of the war has really had a lasting negative impact on the country.
Many blame Angola's 27-year civil war for destroying the country's infrastructure and driving villagers into the capital's slums. But it's also the country's dependence on oil, which accounts for the growing gap between rich and poor. The oil industry employs less than 1% of the total labour force, and most of the wealth goes to a small elite who live in an African version of Saint-Tropez. Only this minority can enjoy Luanda's glitzy waterfront restaurants. A lack of agriculture means even basic foodstuffs are imported, making the capital one of the most expensive cities in the world. Those benefiting from this oil boom say more time is needed for the wealth to trickle down.
Angola is not going to be built in a day. It will have to take a process, and it will have to take time to build. And the president, I think, is doing a very good job in trying to help this country revamp after a long war.
But there's no guarantee that time will narrow Angola's ever-widening wealth gap. The country's so-called oil curse leaves President Eduardo dos Santos with a ready supply of cash, but little accountability to the millions of Angolans living on less than $2 a day.